it's very hard to scale a creative agency that just does the production side because everything is so custom. Like it's, every job is so unique. There isn't really a set service that you can just be like, here's your monthly retainer. Like cash flows, 1 month you might have $30,000 a month. The next month you might have $3,000 a month. Who knows?
Hello to everyone, Anatoliy is here, and today is our Ecom Business Podcast, another episode with one of my great new friends and the person who I met in Nashville. He surprised me about how friendly he is, how open-minded he is, and a really person who never met me before. He was open book. He was explaining and sharing all the insights from his business, from his own life experience, and wasn't asking for anything on the back end from my side. It was really a surprise for me because I love to meet people like him, and they are becoming my close friends because I'm quite similar person, and I really enjoying to have today this person on our podcast. Let me just describe what exactly he's doing. So it's not just an awesome guy. He's also a successful business owner, which was before the COVID, before 2020, he was having successful logistic company, which was delivering several stuff through Canada because he's on Canada based. And he was started even his own band, which was not for making money. It was all for his personal needs and personal just feeling great about his life. And when COVID happened, everything has been stopped. The band wasn't able to play anywhere. The logistic company didn't have that much orders. So he decided to shut down the doors of the business and went back to his home city. And he realized that what's happening there, it's really having a lot of gaps in terms of the creative part, in terms of the right advertising, and his ideas was about, hey, how can I help it? How can I help my city to grow and make it better? And he made the right decision in his end to create the creative agency. And just to let you know, in the first year he was able to generate $200,000 only on his brand new company. And right now they are already almost achieved 1.3 million as for these years. This guy is just insane innovator and, as I said, person with the big heart. So our guest name today, Lucas Heney. What's up, Lucas? How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Anatoly. That was the best intro of all time. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much for having me on today. I see the list of people that you have on here, and sometimes I feel a little underqualified, but I appreciate you.
Come on, man. First of all, 7-figure business, it's awesome. It's respect. Even multiple 6 figures, especially in the first year, you were able to make it successfully. And it's not about even income. It's just you just started and you made it. In the first year, it didn't take you a while. And plus, the way who you are, as I described in the intro, that shows this person we have to speak with. He has something to share because you are the really open book for everyone, and that's showing who you are in real. And thanks, there is nothing, no bullshit behind.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's a learned trait for me. I'm not naturally, actually, I'm a huge introvert, believe it or not. And it's taken me a long time. It took me years of a previous business to get to a point where I felt open, felt comfortable being open and sharing things. So people are surprised when they meet me and they hear that I'm actually a massive introvert.
I would never say that you're an introvert. I mean, from the way how we had fun in Nashville, you're one of the active guys, yeah, let's do it, let's go to the crowd. It's definitely not introvert. Or you will crying at night every single night when you're coming in the room, fuck.
That's the thing. For me, it's I see the value in it, but it's very, it's energy output a lot for me. So when I'm at events, and things like that, it's exciting, but it takes energy out of me. I recharge on my own. So I need a lot of alone time, to kind of, get my thoughts straight and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I believe so. Actually, I'm not introvert, but I feel sometimes that it's hard for me to do some kind of crowdy stuff. I mean, I have difficulties like to take the first couple of steps to something new in terms of, I mean, networking or like being in the crowd who I don't know. But when I started, done, like, I mean, it's going smooth and I'm just enjoying the process. But sometimes first step is really hard. So let's speak about you. I really want people to know you more, and especially where you're going now and how awesome you're implementing what you were founded in Nashville. And guys, seriously, this person, like, we are speaking after the Nashville a lot, and he's the fastest action taker ever who I have seen in the recent year for sure. Like, we will, like, me and the guys, we like, okay, what's about this? What about that? He like, hey guys, I made already with my team this. Like, here is the files, you can take it, you can use it. Like, what the fuck? it was like, what's happening? Lucas is just insane. So tell us, bro, like, tell us more about you, about your background, how you start logistics, what it was happening there in details, and why you decided to go to creative side, not something else.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll try and summarize without going too far into detail here. But basically, so I grew up in Canada. At 18 years old, I actually went to school in Sydney, Australia. I took a theology course there. I grew up a good Christian kid, and I thought I was going to get into music. Was always my passion. And so I did about 6 months of that school, and I pretty much just dropped out, but didn't tell anybody. So I stayed on the remainder of my visa there, played in a couple bands and surfed. And then I moved back to Canada when my visa was non-renewable. And then from there, I've only ever worked one job. And I had probably the best experience for having a first real job. And when I say job, I mean, I started working when I was like 12, 13 years old at restaurants and things like that. But I had one real job before becoming, I guess, an entrepreneur. And it was actually for a office supply sales company. And the owners of that company were unbelievably impactful in my life. It was almost like an MBA in business in 2 years. And so I was actually their first hire, and we moved from basically two of us to, I think there was a team of 20 in Ontario, and then we were across Canada basically. And I started as a driver there, and I moved into a business development position within a few months. So from that, I realized I had like pretty much the best setup for an employee that you could have. And I wasn't that fulfilled by it. And I realized I would rather kind of struggle my way through figuring out how to run my own thing than to be part of a company as an employee. I have a very high tolerance for risk. So that started my entrepreneurial journey. At the time, I'd actually just gotten married, and we moved cities with the expectation that I was going to open basically like a franchise of that office. And last minute, it all kind of fell through, and we'd already purchased a house in this new city, and we decided to make the move and start what would be our entrepreneurial journey. When we moved to that new city, we had zero income. Like nothing. My ex-wife, but wife at the time, she was a music school teacher. And so we started a music school in our living room. And when I would drive to that new city, it was about a 6-hour drive from Kingston to Windsor. I would always see trucks like just driving, like transportation trucks. And so I was like, you know what, I could probably start a shipping company, because I think I can start that on a credit card. I don't have capital, but I think if I buy a vehicle, I can just do, running boxes and law documents and things like that around. So I did. That's what I did. The first 3 years were absolutely brutal. We did not, there were days, Anatoly, where there were months where we never had like a dining room table, for example. And like we would have like $3 transactions at the dollar store for like music books, so that like my ex at the time could, get her students their music stuff. And so we just kind of grounded out and made a lot of mistakes and learned a lot of like very valuable lessons, I think, that have benefited me later on. During that time, the first 2 years of the shipping company was a flop. I remember I had an Excel sheet. So I had like a CRM that was all just done in Excel. And I called, I think it was over 500. It was over 500 businesses in this new town. And I was young. I was like 22, 23. And I got 0 sales. Like zero, like no one, like the first 3 to 4 months, I had 0 sales, 500 plus no's. And just like, is this even like what? Something is wrong with me, because like it's not the product. I see other people shipping stuff around all the time, right? So like, there's something wrong with my process. So
but your product is too needed, to be promoting the product. Yeah,
exactly. It's like I know this is a necessity. It's one of the staples. It's transportation. So. That was like a really big deep dive, because I was moderately successful at my job prior, but as a entrepreneur, business owner, I was failing miserably. And so that was a very interesting time. I learned a lot of lessons and built a lot of character, I think, during that. And then we got our first account, which was actually like college. It was like one of the college departments. And I remember it was such a sad amount, but it was like $12. It was a $12 check. It was for one single pickup, like a 30-day or a 30-minute service or something. And I remember I never deposited the check. I was like, if the college, like I know the college is a big account, so if they're willing to take a chance, then I know there's other companies that will. And so what's really cool, fast forward a few years, our accounts were like FedEx, UPS. We handled a lot of the brokerage documentation for the cross-border stuff. So like RIV forms and things like that. We couriered basically anything that was coming through the US to Canada. Our drivers probably touched at one point for the paperwork and things like that. So kind of a cool story. I remember I got like the FedEx biography books, and like I was like all about it, just trying to figure out what they did back in the day. And through that, I got to meet a lot of very amazing and interesting people. Obviously, Windsor is a very manufacturing heavy town. And so there's a lot of very successful guys there. And I think that was my big value. I didn't make a ton of money in that business, but I learned a lot about people, and I learned a lot about myself, which I think is played into a huge reason why I've been able to be somewhat successful in 2 years with this company. And so that kind of leads us into the transition of what got me into media, because obviously you got shipping on one hand and then you got media work on the other. Those don't typically line up. Those are, completely different businesses, creative and like very, structure based. So what happened was at the time, the music school was also growing, and we took the music school from our living room to a small little old utility substation. It was this really cool, like historic brick building that we converted into a tiny studio. It had 2 grand pianos in it, a waiting room, and a bathroom that was actually not zoned legally for us to be running what we were running out of it. But we somehow made it work for about a year and a half. And during that time, we were like, hey, we need to grow. And Facebook was I saw it as being underutilized. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to take about, 8 months. And so I used to be hugely introverted. I would just come in, I would run everything from behind the scenes. My ex was very, very extroverted, like a social butterfly, I think they call it. And I saw the value of what they brought to the table in being that icebreaker that could just network and be that front end salesperson. And what I realized was, I was like, you know what? If we start to shoot content and we could be the best music school, for example, in the world. But if we don't have customers, like we could be the best teachers, or we could hire the best teachers, we could have the best facility. It doesn't matter unless we have customers. And so at that point, I realized, you know what? We need to be a marketing company first. Same thing with the shipping company. We need to be a marketing company first. And if we can be a marketing company, then we're going to get as much customers as we can, and then we can provide the service that we are saying that we offer. And it was kind of like luck of the draw, I guess, on that, because like I said, my ex was a very, very vibrant personality. And so we started creating content that pretty much took our and there's like a lot of like crazy stories in between all that. I'm like jumping through a lot of stuff here pretty quick, but we took this studio from like, I think it was like 60, 65 students to like almost 300 in a period of like 6 to 8 months.
Wow.
So, and we did that utilizing Facebook. Impressed.
Oh, by utilizing the Facebook.
Yeah. So, nice. So we got to a point, like I didn't know anything about, like, this is your space. This is where you're like the king, right? So I didn't know anything about that back then. And so we got to a point where we knew if we spent $1 on Facebook, we would return $4 minimum. So it was like, for us, we were putting out organic content. Then we ran a couple ad campaigns that were just terrible, and we didn't make anything on. And we eventually just kind of like through trial and error got it to a point where we knew like the input output, and then combining that with creative. So what happened there was we grew the studio. The studio now is doing well. The shipping company is also doing pretty well. We were shooting all of our own content. And what happened was with the music school, a lot of the clients there would own like, a manufacturing shop, or they're doctors, lawyers, typically like a certain social demographic of people that were coming into our studio. It was a really nice place that we made. Culture for us was really a big thing, and we tried to make it cool. So from there, all these people were asking like, who shoots your stuff? Like, who shoots your content? And I was like, I shoot it. Like I do it myself. And so the first account that we ever got was a law office.
As a James Media, or as a
no, this was before James Media. So this was called Elite Creative. And it was like a play off of the music school, which is Elite Studios. And I didn't have a company name then yet, Anatoliy. Like I was like, whatever, I'll run it under Elite Studios, but it's Elite Creative.
Yeah, like kind of freelance work. Like, I will take it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So what happened was they hired us, and I billed them $229 for 3 testimonials, which in Canada, that's like zero. Like that's like a free job. And what's funny is back then I thought I overbilled them because I didn't know what I didn't really believe in what I was doing, because I'm somebody who like wants to master something before I'll try and sell it, right? I want to test proof of concept and whatever else. So I felt like I was maybe cheating them out of $229, which is zero. And they loved it. Everything worked out. And from there we got a bunch more accounts, and we were working stateside for some manufacturing companies, and I got to kind of hone my skills as a creative during that period, while still having the shipping company. So the shipping company was still kind of doing its thing. And then I think it was 2018, I went through a divorce. It was very amicable. We wanted different things. And during that time, I decided, you know what, I'm going to travel a lot, and I'm going to see a lot of the world. And so I got to use media to also travel. So I would do, split work while I was traveling, doing the media thing. And I still had the shipping company that was allowing me to kind of do that. And then fast forward to 2020, which was the year of all the fun stuff. So I was actually in Bali at the time when everything started to shut down. And I had to come back to Canada. And I came back to Canada and kind of looked at everything like, is this what I want to do? I had the opportunity to look at building a house at a property back like in my hometown. So I was like, maybe I'll move back there and kind of recalibrate and see what I want to do. Like it was a transitional period for me. At the time I was 32 and I was like, you know what? This is kind of like my midlife crisis again. So it's like my updated midlife crisis. So anyways, I moved back. My whole family's from the town that I'm in now. And when I arrived here, I realized there was a huge gap for content and creative. And so that's kind of what I just drilled down into for the first year that I moved back. I just, went out, did what I knew best, which was like cold calling and just cold approaches, and then trying to do good work to get referrals. And it's that kind of brings us to today, which we now have. We built out a 4,000 square foot production facility. We've got offices. We've got a team that is incredible at what they do. And now we're looking at opening another market, which is Toronto, which is about an hour and a half from 2 hours from where we are currently positioned. And we've been able to build incredible relationships with not just local companies, but some national brands, as well as some US based companies as well. So it's super exciting. I feel I'm like a student of life. I'm always trying to learn and become better and I'm not afraid of making mistakes. And you mentioned at the start of the call, like speed to action is like my biggest thing. Like if I could do one thing well, I think it's like immediate execution of something. Whether or not I do it well or not is another story, but at least on the execution side,
you done well, believe me. Yeah. I have seen it. You were sharing that. You done well.
Thanks.
So
Thanks,
no worries about that. According to your story and what you said, I will tell you one summary which I can tell you. First thing about your execution, it shows that you're gonna go far. You're gonna really go far with the execution which you have now, and because of your excitement of making changes for your company in the way where it's going to be super growth and delivering the value out there. So it's an amazing, it's one of the points which is I realized instantly by knowing you. Second thing is that you were mentioning 500 no's you have heard, and you will continue doing that. After that, you were hearing no here and there, and you were cold calling people about the creatives. That's one of the success way, one of the life hack code, how you can really succeed in this life. There is nothing behind except fucking hard work and being okay with no. Being okay with no. If you're hearing no, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work out. It just means that I didn't find that yet. I didn't get my client yet. And when I was hearing that, I'm done. I understand what's happening. The guy knows what he's doing in terms of never quit, never give up. And it's what is happening to me all my life. I mean, and it's exactly helped me. When I was 18, I was working in the bank in my Ukraine, in my home city, Zaporozhye. So I was calling every single day from 50 to 150 cold calls to people, business owners. I'm fucking 18 years. I can imagine my voice. It's not perfect in general, but when I was 18, it's like a kid calling to the business owners 40, 45, 50 years old and hey, we have overdraft loans, which will help grow your business. It's stupid. I mean, the kid calling, But I become the number one in matter of the 6 months working there, number one in the region, a sales guy, because I don't know why, but I was okay hearing no. The no, it was fine for me. I was even even more inspired that I have to do that again.
I was going to say, does it make you feel like you've got more to it gives you fuel almost rather than beats you down?
Exactly. This is what divided people into groups. People who hearing no and okay and quitting, and people who hearing no no, go fuck it, I'm gonna be doing it. It's really that's only the thing how you can make things different. I didn't realize that before, but it's something what you can see that okay, this person knows what's happening. That's awesome. That's a very rare trait.
I think. I think it's tough to learn that too. I think that might be
an
innate thing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Regarding regarding that, you were making happen. You were able to make happen. I would love to hear like you found out the opportunities. Yeah, as I know, you were like, tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. Do you have a client Starbucks from your local areas?
Yeah, so we've shot some content for that. We've also shot content for Ford in the past.
It's amazing
now.
Portfolio.
Yeah, you know what's funny though? I realized I don't like working with like large, like high production shoots.
Too complicated, some people love it.
But for us, like we had it, for example, at the start of this fall, it was supposed to be earlier in the summer of 2022. We had like a feature film being shot at our new like studio location. And it just reminded me of how much, for me, that doesn't excite me. Like I'm like a running, so it goes back to the speed to execution thing, right? For me, I would rather run and gun a shoot, or have our guys run and gun a shoot that we can shoot in the morning, edit in the afternoon, and turn around on the same day, rather than having, a whole crew where you shut down a city street for 2 days, and then you've got post-production that takes 2 weeks, and then you've got revisions. So it's like a 6-week process. The budgets might be great. It might be like $200K for a job. But I find the margins actually are less, and your headache management through the whole process is so different. And so that's where I've seen, at least for us, content shift a little bit into what our niche is, which is like, and I have this conversation with friends of mine that are very, very good at like high production. Like they work with like, like sports teams like the Raptors and like EA Games and like all these other crazy, like big companies. And their thing is, they're shooting content that's supposed to live for 2 to 3 years. For us, we're shooting content that lives for 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 months max. I much prefer that. But some people love like the more like cinematic storytelling thing. And that's where I think a lot of like in the creative space, people's egos, if you're a storyteller, for example, your ego can get in the way a lot because you're not looking out for the client. And for me, I was a business owner first before I became a creative, let's call it. And if you were coming to me back then to shoot creative for me, I didn't care how good it looked. Really, I didn't care as long as it gave me the results that I was looking for, if it helped me grow my business. And that's the approach that we take at James Media. We have a saying that's just results-driven creative. And that plays off of that whole idea that, if you're a business hiring us to come and shoot content for you, it's got to at least return your advertising dollars most times.
Awesome. Tell me, like, how it get you started? I mean, with the, like you said, I'm not like you explained how you got started. You were shooting content by yourself, so you already were understanding what you're doing from the practice. But in terms of opening the James Media doors itself to get the office and have your first hiring, it was successful or no? Does this person still with you or no? And how fast your team was growing and what has been changed in the matter of the first year?
Cool. Yeah. Great questions. So the first year, was me just kind of slugging it out and getting clients. I got to a point where, if you're doing, $200,000 a year in media sales, it's hard to continue to grow while maintaining quality. So I was like, okay, I've got to hire somebody. The problem with that was I didn't know, like, this town is quite small. Like, even though we're close to Toronto, it's still quite small. And stuff can change. It was also right during the pandemic. So like we had budgets that they'd cut or whatever. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll dice and I'm going to bring on our first hire, Arda. And he is still with us. He's our head of creative now. And he's amazing. He was here. He's from Turkey, from Istanbul. And like absolutely incredible. Like I could not have found a better person for that role at the time that's also moved into a greater role.
Awesome.
So yeah, no, that was amazing. And I've never found myself as somebody who's very good at hiring. At least I didn't think I was. And I think it's because I've shifted. I feel like I've grown a lot, even from being around people like yourself. And just in the last 2 months, it kind of reaffirms things that I used to run from that might have I might have viewed as a weakness that I now view as actually an integral part of getting us to a new level, and then hiring out the things that maybe I'm not the best at, that I'm actually not the best at, rather than trying to change things about me just to fulfill a certain role that will actually hurt us long term. Does that make sense? Do you ever go through anything like that?
Oh, believe me, a lot. I mean, this kind of feelings, it's like time to time always with me. And growing the team in the right way and feeling that I'm doing something right, it's never staying with me. I mean, never. From our surrounding, which we have right now, I mean, we are, you and me, like we have same friends now, like same people who we are speaking with. And I was admired guys, and I start meet them in life. We become friends, and I was shocked when they start telling me this stuff, what kind of great things I have done. I was looking on them like, guys, come on, like I was speaking to one of our friends, like, and he was saying like, man, it's incredible in your space, in what you have done, how long you are in this space and still survive and still doing it, and you have a huge team, and turnover is not big. Like, it's insane. And I was looking like, yeah, like I'm feeling that I'm really dumb. Like it's so like it doesn't make any sense. And after that, I just realized maybe in my sub niche in my industry, maybe it's true. I'm just undervaluating myself. And I start looking around, and all the competitors on my particular sub niche die. There is only one left, which is still open, but he is like 3 times smaller than me. Not 3, 5 times smaller than me, and he's still on the same level. I'm not saying he's bad, he's good. Sure. He's just smaller and not growing. And maybe they're right. But still, yeah. I continue undervaluating myself all the time.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I feel the same way with a lot of creatives. The creative itself. So, for example, like the start of what we were doing was we'd work with like an agency like yourself. You would tell us what you need for creative. We'd go shoot that creative, and then we'd hand it back off to you. It's very hard to scale a creative agency that just does the production side, because everything is so custom. Like it's, every job is so unique. There isn't really a set service that you can just be like, here's your monthly retainer. Like cash flows, 1 month you might have $30,000 a month. The next month you might have $3,000 a month. Who knows? So what my big focus was, because I noticed the same thing, like a lot of creatives would do it for 3, 4, 5 years. They get burned out, and then they wouldn't exist anymore. They go move into another field, or they just close their business. I didn't want that to happen. And so I realized that I had to figure out a way, no matter how long it took, it was the only way that it was going to work, was to figure out a way to scale a creative product. And so what we've arrived at is now the bulk of what we sell is a retainer-based service for creative. So we've kind of taken the approach and the mindset of creative is the new manufacturing. So, you've had the process of building a home, for example, has been refined over thousands of years. That's kind of like content now. So you don't just show up to a job site and hope that you throw materials together and get a saleable house. There's a methodical process. And so what we do is we work with companies now over time to build either front-facing organic content on a consistent basis that is constantly revolving and keeping fresh for their customers, or on the paid side, which is creating ad sets and creative for different ads, depending on what the objectives are for that company. And so, but that was huge. And we finally got to a point where I think we found a product that definitely works. Like we've been able to really drill down on our knowledge of the industry itself, the creative space, and to identify that gap, which I think was exactly what caused me to move more into the recurring content space, which was business owners need that type of content. They don't, as cool as it is to spend 3 days shooting like the perfect, hero shot of that truck rolling up the hill, is it really going to help them sell anymore? And don't they have those assets from corporate? So it's kind of like identifying those two things, and local companies that still have a presence in their local community need to still feel local. And so by approaching creative that way, where it's considering the end user, the consumer, which whoever's watching that creative, and also the business owner that's hiring you for the creative, it's an interesting kind of blend. You have to balance a lot of different parts with that. And I feel like that's what has allowed us to be successful in our space.
Nice, man. How many team members do you have right now?
Yeah, so right now we are 8 full-time. So everyone here, it's funny. So that event, so Agency Founders that we met at, that was the first event that I've ever gone to in this space. Like and this is actually my first podcast I've ever done in this space, which I mentioned at the start of the call. But so we are one of the very few people or companies there that was all physical location. We have no remote as of now. So as of March, so in a few days, we will have remote teams that are going to be working out of different cities. But as of right now, everybody comes here, like right next to me in this room. There's a big edit bay with a bunch of guys working out there now. So yeah, we are physical location.
And all the guys, no ladies, you're like really man creative agency, and James Media, and this kind of lady voice, James, and on your videos, it's like showing that it's a guy's place,
You know what's funny? And that was somewhat intentional. Like when you walk into our office, I put a bar in, so we've got this big like wolf head mural and like some like tattoo inspired stuff. And I love our space. It's cool. But it was done somewhat intentionally because usually, at least in Canada, like you deal with a lot of marketing agencies and they all have a very identical aesthetic. And so like, it's usually very like feminine, like a lot of like cursive styled writing for the text and fonts. And a lot of the branding is very similar, like super boosted whites and like kind of, it's a very feminine approach. And so we wanted something that was maybe a little bit different, just kind of kept us positioned in a different way than what a lot of the other stuff was out there. And I think people come into our space and, we're still in the process of fitting it up, but they've come in here and I think they see there's something different here. And for me, that period of traveling, I just wanted to bring things back that I saw, in different countries that were normal there, like spending time in Australia, utilizing art and murals and things like that, to make a space that accommodates a lifestyle. And with probably a lot of your team, they work remote. They get the luxury of being in their home. It's something that feels comfortable. I didn't want a sterile office, especially in the creative space. And so for people to be able to come in and have it's a vibe, like it's a culture thing. And I think it helps to build out that culture, which represents us. And I also think it helps to narrow down our clients, because it's like if a client comes in here and they're very ultra professional and they need a certain thing, and they're too worried about like maybe offending somebody or whatever, they're probably not the client to work with us. We've had the luxury of working with everyone from like, financial services companies to law offices, to city campaigns. And I think people identify it helps us narrow down our customer. If somebody was to come into our physical space and not really understand the vision, I think it's pretty obvious to see who we are and what we're about just from the space.
I would tell you from my perspective, I can see that. First of all, it's a man place. Secondly, it's just dudes who are cool, all of them. If you're not cool, you're not part of the team. It sounds like that, it looks like that, and means by cool, not just like cool dude, a cool person, creative person, and who is able to take over the time, stay in the office for a reason of finishing the job and doing that not because you're getting paid, doing that because you love it. That's what kind of you guys making feels when we are looking on you from the side. That's I can tell you from my perspective. So it's my feedback to
you. we just want people to take pride in what they do, right? And at the end of the day, that was like one of my biggest takeaways from Agency Founders with that event was, coming back to the table and realizing like, here's the principles that I believe, and this is what technically the company was built off of because it's my belief system. But then translating that and making it accessible or palatable for people to understand. And that's a huge one, is like pride in your work, like having fulfillment in what you do. And I think it goes beyond just a job. Like I really feel like
lifestyle. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah,
like you mentioned about our guys, all on remote. And the thing is that for especially our sales guys, like, by the way, one of them is my great friend of mine and from the childhood, and he is actually today flew to my place. He crossed the border in Ukraine and came to Portugal, and and I'm just saying that it's became really to all of them. It's a lifestyle, because like they can be in Dubai, they can be in Mexico. I'm saying where they were, in Bali, in the Thailand, doesn't matter. The main thing, just they jumping on the call, they having conversation with the leads, they done to close the deal, they continue living their beautiful lifestyle, and they already addicted to the messenger, they addicted to the phone calls, but it's not bad addiction. It's like it's their lifestyle. I mean, they know how hard you can make money out there. Some of them were waiters before, like me. Some of them, because it's my friends of mine who like from childhood, the same background. Some of them like were just like laborers in the factory, and now they're living their dream life and working for themselves. I'm just providing them the company as a tool to live the dream life. The most important, just bring the value to our clients and make the results for the company. If you done it, please enjoy your day. Like nobody's saying anything. And they're working hard. They're not sleeping sometimes. It's insane. But I love it. I'm proud of them. I would say like that.
That's amazing.
Good team, it's a part of success, definitely. Sometimes I'm feeling that since war started in Ukraine, I wasn't the best leader. This is what I feel. I don't see that from the team, but from recent time, I believe that I have to do something more. Like the guys survive after the war. In terms of like, so companies survive because of them, because even war has been happening, bombarding was happening. If you have heard my podcast with the 4Media, like the bombs were fucking blowing around, and the person was on the sales call, and there is a lot of media buyers who done similar stuff, and like, I'm not doing enough. Like, I have this kind of feeling that I'm not fulfilling enough what I have to. So that's why this kind of like changes in the companies which we are making from recent time, I believe could be the good change for the culture, the good change for the like mood of the team. And this is just my insights. I don't know. I just decided to share that. And so
that's what makes you such a great leader though, Anatoliy, because you do take that on yourself to provide that for your people. And I think that's obviously a sign of somebody who takes pride in what they do and also, values the people that are choosing to invest their lives into working together with you, right?
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying, that I feel your team is similar to mine, which is they have this kind of like, I'm not doing the work, I'm doing it's my lifestyle. Yeah, I'm getting paid for that, but I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So Monday, it's not a shitty day for me. The Monday, I'm excited for Monday. Always. It's become like weekends become just not exist anymore for me, because I'm doing whatever I have to, and I'm free when I want to. But I'm excited for Monday because I know the team now it's more fresh and like, hey guys, what can we do? Like, let's do it. Like beginning of the week. It's an awesome feeling that like, if all of them doing what they love, means like you can create something big. So that is definitely
for sure. We just started doing like we would do like these little meetings and stuff, but like our culture for us has become like a big area of focus, and like building out what that means, like who are we aligned with, where we're going and what we're doing. And that's something that I think has been super valuable. So we now do like good, like solid Monday morning meetings. And then we have obviously like our touch bases through the week with everybody, but and then we do a Friday meeting. And so we also do this thing here on the sales side. So every time a new sale closes, we all do shots. So
oh, nice. Seriously. That's cool. that's one of the benefits of the local of the location staying together, to have these kind of funny moments together, celebrations. It's a celebration, it's a culture. It's amazing.
How do you have you navigate, like, how do you navigate that on the remote side? Because obviously, like, I'm totally new to the remote side. Like, is that a like, how do you build those culture elements into the team when they're remote?
I will tell you something that when I started, I just recently I discussed the same with Eddie. Like, when I started, I was a marketer. Like, I haven't been marketer till 2017. So 2017, I become marketer. I start studying. I got my success. I got to success in the stores, success with the students. I was doing mentorship. I was handling a couple of clients as an agency with only one employer, and I didn't call myself agency. It's like, was just like, yeah, I have a team, like, we're gonna be handling it. But it wasn't like about idea about the big agency. And definitely when we started, I was, and we start growing fast. In a matter of few months, from one employer to 9 employers. Okay, like, moving forward. And I'm like, we are learning while we're going, guys. We are learning while we're going. Like, I'm learning the same with you. And after that, I realized that I'm overwhelmed with several things, because I'm in the working chats. I'm speaking to the client. I'm in charge of the client. I'm doing XYZ sales, guiding sales. And after that, I realized that I have to create. My mentor said to me, you have to create the managers. You have to create, you have to spread your attention, remove your like busy work, technical work to the managers, and delegate the work and focus in being a CEO. I'm the CEO, like me. Anatoliy is the CEO, like, come on, seriously. And I realized that, fuck, I'm becoming a CEO. For me and I understand I have to learn management. It was a new thing for me, and like how to time management, team management, all the stuff, and like how to give promotion to the best guys in the team to be a managers. They're still with me, only one, not anymore with us. And
was it easy to hand off stuff, Anatoly? Like, was it hard?
It was incredible hard.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to sleep. I wasn't able. My phone was always with me like that. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I trust you. And after that again, like, it was unbelievable hard. But the best decision which you can make if you are at the beginning of the journey, to done it. It's hard to make it. It's hard to take step out of the chats, step out of some kind of busy work, but not just because you want to lay down and watch the TV, because you understand that you are not gum. You cannot be like scratching, and being everywhere. It's not possible. So you have to focus on the growth, on organization, and you have to make a team who gonna be like handling other stuff. And that's like during the first 2 years of the company, we always repeating with the managers, like, bro, you're telling us all the time that we done mistake when mistake happened. Like, all the time you tell us we are learning while we are going. So as always, we will be able to manage. It's your words. And like, yeah, we will manage that. It doesn't matter what's happening. So it's a hard journey when we're learning on the go. But that's the way. If you don't have experience and if you hustler, I believe that if you don't want to quit, you will find out the way how to handle the stuff. For
sure. It's like a trial by fire. I think that's where having I think having the access just to like groups. So I've never really spent the money, right, to like get into some other groups, because I'm one of those people that's like, oh, I can learn it myself. Like, for school, for me, I dropped out after like 6 months. So I've always been a self-learner. And what I've realized is that's great. But if somebody's out there that can save you 2 years or, thousands of dollars in mistakes, to be able to have those people to bounce ideas off is super important. And so, and thanks to you even for advice that you've given me. I think I've implemented some of that over the last, or tried to anyways, over the last month and a half of being here. But I think those things are super valuable. And it is hard to pass off the, I guess, ownership of certain things to people and let them operate and let them fail. I think for me, that's very difficult, just because I've always been somebody that's like tried to always I'm a control freak.
But the best, yeah, the same. It's really the same, but it should be made. Like I remember, like I'm still working with the same mentor who was my first mentor in Facebook advertising, but now he's my great friend. He's my mentor in life. He's like having a small piece of the company in terms of like profit share, just because like he is with me 5 years, and he's an incredible person, and not nothing significant, but the most important, he was believing in me, he was guiding me, and always when some tough situation in life, he's the person who will tell me, and the most important, he can like verbally beat me, that I will feel destroyed, and I understand that I have to do it, because now I know him too well, and if I won't be doing, he'll get shit out of me. So I'm like when I was saying, oh yeah, I'm trying, yeah, I will be in the chat, like he was, no, like you have to do that. I'm like, yeah, no, like, and if not him, I would be like always swimming, and I'm still in the other things doing that. And the number one thing that we really have to, like, if I would not listen to him, I won't be here definitely, because I would be staying small, or I would be shut down the doors and come back to mentorship or something like that, just because I would be tired, exhausted of managing several things and trying to grow. So my suggestion to you, take this hard decision. It's tough, but you will find out how fast you will start growing as a company when you've done it.
Yeah, that's exactly, we're at that transition period right now. And even like that whole concept of, you know, a good leader can have about 6 to 8 people under them that they can actively be leading and growing. Anything outside of that, your time is stretched too thin, and you become a little bit, you know, less effective. And that's exactly the transition period that we're in right now. And so, for me, that's moving back to here, putting those processes in place and like actually having the systems has made a lot of that easier. And so, that execution on just, you know, SOPs and like all that stuff. And I think you can over engineer stuff too. It's interesting because I met with a couple other content creators in the space recently, and you know, they're a team, one of them that's, you know, doing maybe a third of our volume, but their back-end processes are so over-engineered that they could scale 10x and be totally fine with the systems that they have. Whereas we were the opposite. We were doing, you know, 3-4x the volume, but our systems were that of like junior level, man. Like just,
we were creating the systems on the go so much. Like, oh my God, it's really, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the most important, like, you know, the thing is, you have to take the work and figure it out on the go. To compare when you are just like waiting for the work, and you're trying to create the perfect iPhone before, without even selling it, and when you want to sell it, it's already old. So like why iPhone started with 5, after that in 6 months 5S, because they sell it, they found out the mistakes, they update it, remove the mistakes, and like, hey, here is 5S. They studied the market, they sold you shit. I mean, it's not a shit, but I mean a product which has mistakes. And now here is solution product which doesn't have mistakes. Extra sales plus new product and so on. And this kind of analogy, it's always reminding me like, hey, like I want to create a perfect iPhone. Let's start it. Let's figure it out and make it perfect. And it's never worked very smooth, but this is the way to go, I guess.
100%. I agree. I think speed to execution and making a bad decision that then you have to correct is better than waiting to have the perfect product or perfect service and then having no resources to make the changes when you launch it. Because in your mind, you might think you have the perfect thing anyways, and then you send it out to market and you realize it's just as bad as if you launched it 6 months ago, because what is perfect? And if you don't have consumer feedback or client feedback, customer feedback, you don't know what perfect is. It might be perfect for you, but there might be no market for it, right? So perfect, I think, is the thing that meets the biggest need. And so if you identify a need and then you just service it, that's perfect.
That's that's exactly what you said, that you can love it. I mean, you can create a nice shape of the website, whatever, and after that, like, yeah, you love it, but the market work in different way. You go into the doctors with the pink colors website and so on, but at the end you have to make it white and blue, which is in their industry, so it's completely like what you love and what crowd is needed. It's completely different thing.
100%.
So, Lucas, we are running out of time for our podcast, and I have always at the end one of the last questions, which is I'm asking to everyone, and I would love to hear your opinion as well. Sounds good?
All right, let's do it.
Awesome. So, what would you choose, the journey or end result?
Ooh, that's tough. I think you don't respect and really have a good understanding of the end result until you've gone through the journey. And I think, so I have a Lamborghini. That's the end result. So I drive a Lamborghini. If I just had the Lamborghini, it's fun, but I think it was about 3 days after my brother and I bought the Lamborghini, we were looking at another Lamborghini. And so I think the end result is always going to change. You're never going to be satisfied. There's always another mountain to climb. I would much rather enjoy the journey and the fulfillment that comes with building out the journey. And I think that's where people should, build their life around the journey and their fulfillment around the journey rather than the end result.
It's a great analogy about the Lamborghini because, like, come on, like, guy owning a Lamborghini, but he looking on, like, they're looking on you, like, guy owning Lamborghini, and you like looking on another Lamborghini. Fuck, it's newest, it's nicest. Like, it's a weird stuff.
Well, last year, so 2 years ago, I bought like my dream car, which was an M6, and then last year I bought an R8, and then this year we bought the Lamborghini. And I'm now part of all these groups, and I realize there's so much more. Like, there's guys in there that have Lamborghinis that are, a few $1 million just for one car, right? So there's always another mountain to climb. There's always something else out there. I think it's being very content with being fulfilled with what you do, but being not content. So continuing to progress and move forward, but enjoying the process.
Yeah, like it's not an end result for sure. Like this is the thing that in my end as well, I choose journey because like whatever is end result when you achieve it in matter. Like I love this book, Winning by oh my god. Well, give me a second. I will tell you.
I gotta steal your library. I gotta hit you up for some books.
Yeah, sure. Like Tim Grover, Winning. It's an amazing book where I was opening for myself exact right words to describe what I'm feeling. It was a story about the Michael Jordan. It was his first feeling. First book was about Michael Jordan. The second one was about another basketball player. I won't lie, I'm not the best in basketball, but I like it. It top like the guy. And the thing is that I guess so. Yeah. So the thing is the most important thing in the book, when they got the ring, which is they were working for, on the everyone are like having parties, everyone celebrating, and the first book it's relentless, amazing about Michael Jordan. And the thing is like when you got this ring, everyone celebrating, congratulating, and like the guy saying, "What's next?" Yeah. Like they got it. Okay, it's a result. But tomorrow you're waking up. You have to fight again to be a champion. You have to continue be other. It's not end of the game. You have to continue fight for the champion. Be staying in the championship. So it's an amazing book which just describe me all the words like what I was feeling. That shit. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. Like it's a journey. Which it never stops.
I think that is the best part about life. I think when you stop progressing is when you stop living. And so if you continue to progress, even if it's micro or even if it's something different, but you're always learning and always growing a little bit, that is what's truly fulfilling in life.
Yeah, exactly. So guys and girls, this was the great person and a good friend of mine, Lucas Heney, and I'm looking forward to hear from you any kind of questions. If you'd like to reach out to Lucas, we'll put his bio, in our bio, his information where you can just reach out to him. And actually, if you want to order the content from his team for yourself, for your brand, they are doing that awesomely. You can go to the James Media in Instagram. Again, all the links will be shared with you and you can see what exactly they're making because like this is the best place where you can find the work of the guys who are making media creatives. So, and judge that, and then just DM them and speak to them directly. Thank you, Lucas, for your time, and thank you for being here. It was an awesome one. Speak soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anatoliy. Appreciate you.